Hey guys, so in this video I'm checking out the last of the Viltrox lenses that Viltrox sent to me for review. This is the 33mm F1.4 STM for Sony APS-C E-mount. First things first, let's see what comes in the box. Inside you have a warranty card, a user manual, a Viltrox branded microfiber pouch, and the lens itself. Now on the lens you get a nice metal lens hood and it fits nice and snug on the front of the lens. There is a plastic front lens cap, a plastic rear lens cap, and that is about it. Taking a look at the lens itself, it is all metal construction. It weighs in at 270 grams, which isn't a whole lot, but it doesn't feel overly light or cheap either. At the very back of this lens, you have a metal mount. There is a micro USB port for firmware updates, electronic connections because this lens does have autofocus. And speaking of autofocus, it features Viltrox's version of STM or stepper motor. Now moving forward, you have a distinct aperture control. Unfortunately, it does have a bit of a grinding noise. Not the best sound in the world, and I do wish that there were distinct clicks. When you move from F16 over to automatic, there is a little bit of a resistance and a semi-click there, so that's a good thing. Moving forward, you have a nice gold lettering, a C logo on one side, and Viltrox on the other. In front of that, you have a manual focus ring, which is not connected mechanically to the inside of this lens, so it rotates freely. Taking a look at the front lens element, it is decently sized, 33mm STM EDIF, 52mm filter thread, and minimum focusing distance of 0.4 of a meter or 1.31 feet. And when you compare it side by side to the Sigma 30mm F1.4, which I think is its direct competitor, there are a lot of similarities between these two lenses. Now, one key difference between these two lenses is the Sigma is made in Japan and is proudly displayed on the side of the lens and on the very front of it. The Viltrox doesn't have a made in anywhere. However, on the box, it does say that this lens is made in China. When you mount the Viltrox on the A6100, it looks really good on the camera. The finish on it is a perfect match for a camera such as the A6000 or the A6100. For a 33mm F1.4, it is a very nice looking lens. Now, normally this would be the part of the video where I showed you guys a bunch of sample photos that I took with this lens and my camera, but I'm gonna do something different here and I'm just gonna do a straight up comparison because at the price of the Viltrox, really, if you are looking at this Viltrox, you have to compare it to the Sigma 30mm F1.4. These two lenses are way too close in price and in overall specs for you not to look at both of them side by side. So let's take a look at some side by side comparison shots. All of these are done with my A6100 and a tripod JPEG straight out of the camera. No editing, no post-processing. Here we go. I'm gonna keep all of the Viltrox images on the left and all of the Sigma images on the right. Here is the first portrait shot, both done at f1.4 wide open on both lenses. Let's punch in and immediately, wow, this one looks like the Viltrox is a touch sharper. Indeed it is. You can probably barely see it, but it is a little bit sharper than the Sigma, which is a bit of a surprise. Skin tones look good on both. If you look at bokeh, looks pretty close. A little bit more outlining you see with the Viltrox, a little bit more smooth. There is some fringing elements here, but we'll take a look at those in some other photos. This second one is also done wide open at f1.4. Zooming in, let's zoom in a little bit closer. So this is 2:1. So here you can see a bunch of purple fringing, chromatic aberration. You don't see it as much here in the center of the frame with the Sigma lens. So that's one of the issues that I read about with the Viltrox is that it does suffer from some fringing wide open at f1.4, even in the center of the frame, which is pretty crazy. As far as sharpness, I think at 2:1, they both look pretty good. You'll see a little bit of that fringing in green here with the light above Janessa's head. So you'll see there's a little bit of an outline here, even with the stop sign in the background. It's a lot smoother with the Sigma. This next portrait is stopped down to f2.8 on both lenses. So we'll punch in. And here, again, the Viltrox is nice and sharp. This is a little bit too close. Let me go to 1:1. Nice and sharp on the Viltrox. I'd say it looks even a touch sharper again than the Sigma 30, which is truly impressive. A lot of detail here in the hair, and you see that there's very little to no fringing once you stop this thing down to f2.8. So not as good wide open, but stop down, it is a very good, nice and sharp lens. Here is a landscape shot done at f5 on both lenses. I believe I focused on this tree trunk here. And here I think the Sigma just carries a little bit more sharpness. There's a whole bunch of stuff, a bunch of leaves and twigs and everything going on here. But if you look at this side by side, I think the Sigma does look a touch sharper, a little bit more detailed. This next shot is done at f8. ISO is cranked because I was dealing with not a ton of light, but hopefully we can see a difference here in sharpness. Viltrox looks a little bit soft here. Look at the Sigma in comparison, looks a little bit sharper. Same thing here with this tree trunk. Sigma looks a little bit better. Pretty close comparison, but I would have to give the edge to the Sigma here, stop down at f8. This next shot is done at f8 on both lenses. What was interesting here is that the colors are quite different. So here is what you get with the Viltrox, and then here is what you get with the Sigma. So Viltrox, Sigma, Viltrox, Sigma. Here is my wife freezing outside, wide open, f1.4 on both. We punch in, and the Sigma is just a touch sharper. So look at that, just a little bit more detail, skin, eyelashes. Bokeh, nice and creamy on both. Actually, Viltrox performing quite well here. The last shot here is of my wife indoor, low light-ish. So f1.4. I focused on her face in both shots, and you can see here, it's not bad. Both lenses performing, I'd say, equally, maybe just a touch sharper on the face with the Sigma, but hair detail's a little bit better with the Viltrox. So I'd say that this one is a bit of a wash again. There is a little bit of that fringing, that green color here that you don't see with the Sigma. So you'll notice that with bright contrasty areas. But regardless, I think a good overall performance from the Viltrox. In summary, this Viltrox 33 f1.4 is a good performer. It keeps up with the Sigma in certain situations, especially when you stop it down to f2 and f2.8, but wide open, I still would say the Sigma is the sharper and the better lens out of the two. And one of the things that the test wasn't really able to show you guys is the autofocus performance. Now, the Sigma historically has been the worst autofocus performer out of the Sigma trio. So the Sigma 56, the Sigma 16mm, which I'm using to record this video, those lenses are better in the area of autofocus. The 30mm, when it came out, was pretty bad, but Sigma did release a firmware update, and the autofocus performance now, I'd say, is decent. It is better than the autofocus performance from the Viltrox. I found that the Viltrox did struggle with autofocus a little bit, and in particular, the same issue that I had with the 56mm I saw with this 33mm, and that is the focus would sometimes just go crazy and not just stop. Like, it would focus on my wife's eyeball or my wife's face, but then it would go back and forth really quickly and not know what to focus on, which is kind of weird. And I think that Viltrox will eventually figure this out and release a firmware update for this lens, and probably for the 56mm as well. As far as price, these two lenses are also very similar, as I mentioned before. The Sigma right now, the last time I checked on Amazon, I believe it was $270 or so, which is a pretty cheap lens. It's one of the cheapest out of the trio, so definitely a good buy at $270. The nice thing about Sigma lenses is they hold their value really well. So you could probably buy one of these Sigma lenses, use it for a year, and probably sell it for $20 $50 less than what you paid initially. Whereas with the Viltrox, I'm not sure. This is a new lens. I don't know that it will hold its value quite as well as the Sigma. Now, this thing is right now $259 directly from Viltrox from their store. However, I have a coupon code with them, so with the coupon, I think it comes down to like $233. So even with the coupon, we're only talking about a $40 price difference between these two lenses. So I'd say if you're on a really tight budget and you need to save $40 and you absolutely need a lens, you can pick up the Viltrox. It's a good performer. It's not going to be stellar or amazing, but it is a decent performer, and especially if you stop it down, again, it's going to give you some nice and sharp images. But if you can swing the extra $40 or $50, I would still say that the Sigma 30mm F1.4 is the better lens out of the two, especially if you're going to be shooting it wide open at f1.4. The background bokeh is a little bit creamier. It doesn't have that chromatic aberration issue that this lens has wide open at f1.4 in the center of the frame. The Sigma Trio really is one of the best 3 lenses that you can pick up for your Sony APS-C mirrorless camera. That is going to be it for my review of the Viltrox 33 F1.4. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and learned something. As usual, let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of the performance of both of these lenses, and let me know if you guys have purchased either one of these. I know a lot of you guys have the Sigma, but I'm curious if anyone has the Viltrox 33 and what your thoughts are on this lens. It's exciting to see more and more of these lenses come out, especially from Viltrox, especially lenses that have autofocus. If they ever come out with a 10mm f2 that has autofocus, it's going to be amazing and it's going to sell like crazy. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all of your likes, all of your comments, and your support. Stay tuned for more. Have a great day. Bye-bye.